Hello, Maverick traders. Welcome back to our educational series. We have been diving into the interactive brokers trader workstation software. Today, we're going to take a closer look at conditional orders. And we had a request from one of our traders, Enrique, who's been really digging into the software and wanted to know more about snap to mid, peg to mid type of orders. I'm going to show you that functionality as well. So if you've had those questions, well, everyone yell, thank you, Enrique, for requesting that. Let's go in live to the IB platform and let's make sense of this together. So I'm just on the classic version. I've been using this for a couple of decades, and that was the version that was available back when we first started. So old habits die hard. It's my preferred method. So let's go ahead and put in a stock example. And let's say that we were going to trade, I don't know, applied materials or something. And here you can see the bid-ask spread and the difference. Now these prices are moving because the market's open, but if we just took kind of a screenshot of this and we said, okay, where's the stock trading right at this moment? You can see that it's trading. Let's bring this little screenshot up. At that moment in time, it was trading at 115.20 on the bid, 115.26 on the ask. So what does that mean to us? Well, let's make sense of this together. Let's kind of draw this up. I'm going to do it in this manner so that it makes sense. If you take a screenshot and you don't see all these prices moving around, it helps out. So if somebody said, what's the midpoint of that spread? Well, hopefully all of you understand that the midpoint at that moment in time was 115.23, meaning that was the very middle of that bid-ask spread. So there are order types that you can put out there that go to the midpoint. You can put, there's two types. They call it snap to mid and peg to mid. Okay, so let's write this, snap to mid or peg to mid. And so what's the difference between those? Well, it kind of tells you in the name. A pegged to midpoint is going to stay pegged at the midpoint, meaning as these prices move, say these start to shift down, so would this. This will stay pegged to the middle of the bid-ask spread. So if you said, you know, even as the market's moving, I just want my order to stay right in the middle of constantly wherever the market's going until it executes, right? I want to be at the middle so that as the market shifts, I'm still shifting to the middle right along with it. That's what a peg does. A snap to mid would just go to the midpoint and stay there. So if we did a snap to mid, our order would have gone out at 115.23 and it would have stayed right there at 115.23. It doesn't move with the bid-ask spreads moving. The peg does. The snap would just go right to 115.23 and then stay there until it executes. If the market ran away from it, it may never execute. If the market comes down, okay, it executes and we get in. So in terms of this trade, the snap to mid will stay there at wherever the midpoint is when it goes, right? It just snaps once to the midpoint and then stays at that price. Peg to mid will move around with the bid-ask spread. Understanding those differences is important. So if we were looking at a buy, you can see right here that you have all these different choices, and you can see peg to mid or snap to the midpoint. If I choose snap to mid, again, I could put in offsets. I could say, well, I don't want any offset whatsoever. I just want it to snap to the middle of this and then stay right there. If you put in an offset, when you're buying, it's midpoint minus your offset, and when you're selling, it's midpoint plus your offset, because you want to buy low and sell high. So any offset you put in here, they assume you want to be at the midpoint and better, buying low or selling high. So if I put in a 2-penny offset, what that means is as soon as I transmit, it's going to go to the midpoint and then it's going to offset by 2. So let's go back to this example. If we said snap to mid with a 2-cent offset, at this moment in time, where would our order have been? It would have snapped to 115.21. the midpoint was 115.23 and then it had a 2-penny offset. If we were selling and we had a 2-penny offset, the middle is 115.23. So if we said sell, snap to mid, and then 2-cent offset, our sell order would have gone and snapped right to 115.25. Why? Because 115.23 was the middle, and then there's a 2-penny offset. Your offset is to help you to buy lower than mid or to sell higher than mid. So if you put in any offset, again, this is important. If we put in any offset, when buying, it's going to be midpoint minus that is where your price is going to snap to. And when you're selling, it's going to be midpoint plus that offset because you're going to try to sell a little higher. So if it snapped to 115.21 plus 2, it'd be at 115.53 on the sell side and so forth. So understanding those little intricacies is important. The snap versus the peg. The peg will stay there at the midpoint. The snap, it just goes to that price that you've created, and then it will stay there until it executes. It won't move around. Now we can use these in conjunction with conditional orders. So let's build a little bit more advanced trade. Let's say we were going to buy a spread or something. So let's build one. Let's just do a vertical and say we were going to buy a call spread. Now, maybe this will be at June. The stock's at 115. So let's just buy a hypothetical here. Say we were going to buy the 115 and sell the 120. Bull call debit spread. I build the trade. Okay, here's our bull call. It says it's going for 210 on the bid, 234 on the ask. I like to have a mid column here so it tells me what the midpoint is. You can put that in there if you want. And again, if you like that, whoops, I wanted it right in the middle. If you like that, it'll just tell you what the midpoint is. I kind of like knowing where the bid is, where the ask is, and where the middle is. But this is not a live order, right? These are live buyers and these are live sellers. This just tells me where the middle's at. So that middle column, if you wanted to add that, you can just click here to configure, and you can come over here to your prices and find that and add that over here. So you've got the bid, the mid, and the ask. Now here's the mid, but let's say we were going to buy this bull call spread and we were going to create some conditions. So when I click here to buy, I'm going to double click on this line to pull up an order ticket. And as I do that, you can see right up here is conditional orders. Now a conditional order is very similar. Its terminology is the same thing as contingent orders. Some brokerages call them conditionals. Some brokerages call them contingent orders. It means the same thing. If you can't see this conditional button, just hit the arrow and you'll find it. As you click on conditional, I can add a condition. So let's say that we wanted a price condition. And we say, okay, I'm ready to buy this, but only if the stock goes up a little bit or something. So we can kind of see the stock's trading at 115.50. Maybe I'm going to set a price condition that Applied Materials, so AMAT stock, its last trade needs to be greater than or equal to, and let's put in 115.80 or something. Hypothetically, we want to see the stock go above, greater than or equal to, its last trade, greater than or equal to 115.80 before we do anything. See how I've created a condition. I could create another condition. I could say, and I want it to be after, such and such a time, mountain time. Let's say, I'm on mountain time zone, but greater than, maybe we want it just before the close. So 11:42 Mountain would be 1:43 Eastern time. So just 17 minutes before the close or something like that. And we could add a time. And we could put these ands, or we could put them or. You could say, I want this and this. So what that tells the market is this and this both have to be met. Both conditions have to be met in order for this transaction to go through. If we did an or, well, then this one needs to happen or this one, so you can change your conditions. You could say, well, never mind, I don't like that one, I'll delete it. I like this one, this price, whatever. You can add these conditions on. Now, what a condition or a contingency order is it says this has to happen before this transaction goes through. If this doesn't happen, this order is not even live. It's kind of like, a signal. It's a trigger. If this condition is met, then this order will go to the market. This order will not be live to the market until this condition is met. So since the stock is trading at 115.50, if we send this order, it won't go through because the stock has not gone greater than or equal to 115.80. Now let's say we were going to try to buy this, and we can see the bid, the ask, and the midpoint. And let's say we were going to try a snap to mid or a peg to mid. We could put in our order that we want. And so we could put in offsets as well. We could say the midpoint on this spread is 221, and we could even put in a further offset. We could say, I want it to snap to the midpoint, which, by the way, this order won't even go live because we're not reaching our condition. But we could say when it does, when the condition is met, we want to try to get filled in the middle of this spread, but 10 cents better. We want to try to buy it 10 cents better than whatever the midpoint is at that point in time. Now, the midpoint will be a little higher because we're waiting for the stock to go up 25, 30 cents a share, roughly higher. So this midpoint by that point might be at 225, 230, probably 230-ish. And if it goes live, we've told it, hey, try to get the midpoint, but 10 cents better. So if the midpoint was 230, our order would actually be sitting there at 220, because whatever the midpoint is, when the condition is met, minus 10. So in terms of looking at this, if we preview the order, it'll kind of give us a little warning here if this is executable, whatever, don't show that. But it says, okay, snap to the mid, minus 10 cents. We can override and transmit. They have algorithms that basically kind of do price limits and protections. This is usually a good idea to have some of their algos, which basically says we'll try to stop you from getting some extreme non-fair price, and you could always use it, you could not use, or you could just use it on this order. Let's just say we were going to use it on this order. But now you can see this order, it kind of shows us it's not green. It's not live in the market. This order is basically, as in fact, it says right there, order is being held and monitored for the stock to go above 115.80. As soon as that happens, this will snap to the midpoint minus 10. So again, we'll be right around this price minus 10 cents is where we'll be trying to buy. Now somebody might say, well, does that mean you're going to get filled? No, it doesn't. But it's basically using technology to verify what you want to have happen and what type of pricing you would like to see on this. So in terms of the trade, we're attempting to get into the trade at the midpoint minus 10 cents on this. Let's build another one. Just give a couple of different examples. Home Depot's trading at 306 per share. Let's say we were going to trade, and again, let's go ahead and cancel that. We don't want that going live. Let's say we were going to buy a butterfly or something, whatever. Okay, so I was going to buy a put butterfly. And Home Depot's trading at 306. So hypothetically, we were going to buy a targeted butterfly, expecting the stock to go down in price and, build something like that. So here, buyers are trying to pay 320. Sellers are trying to get 360. The middle value is about 340. Let's say we wanted to buy one of those. Again, I'm going to double click on the order. Maybe in this case, we want to add a condition that the price of, we could set it to something else. We could say we want SPY. We want the S&P 500. Now let me get a quote on SPY. SPY is trading at 411.60, so maybe we want it to go less than or equal to, and the default is last, by the way. You could leave it on default, the last trade. But we want the last trade of SPY to be less than, let's say, 411. 411 per share. If it breaks 411, we want to buy this put butterfly on Home Depot. See, I don't even need to add a condition for Home Depot. I could add a stock market, an S&P 500 condition. So if SPY goes below 411, then what? Well, then we want to buy this butterfly, and this butterfly right now has got about a 340 midpoint, but we want to snap it to the mid and maybe pay, again, 10 cents less. So instead of it triggering at 347 midpoint, it would go at 337. It would get us 10 cents better than the mid. Now remember, once it snaps to the mid, it's going to stay at that price until it executes. So if this order were to go at 337, it would stay right there at that 337 price until it executes. A peg to mid would keep moving with the stock and stay at the midpoint and keep trying to get filled at the midpoint no matter where the market goes. I use snap to mid more often where, okay, it snaps out there at the midpoint and I try to get an execution at that price. Now again, we can preview and it says, okay, you're going to be buying this. Here's your snap to mid, 10 cents better, so buying lower. Here's the estimated prices. We can transmit. Sure, we'll use their algo on this. So we're going to be buying. If this goes below 411, snap to mid, 10 cents better. Again, we're almost to trigger that, so I'll just go ahead and cancel that so the order doesn't execute. But I wanted to show you a variety of different examples, how we're building option spreads, creating conditions that the stock must meet, and then sending a snap or a peg to mid order out there. Fun stuff. Let's add one more example. So let's say we had, Johnson & Johnson stock and we wanted to sell our 100 shares. We can pull up that order ticket, add a condition, and we could say, we want to sell this after a certain amount of time. We want to sell this again in an hour or two, something like that. So you could put that you want out of this in 1 hour. And we could say we want out at the market, or we want out, peg to the mid, or whatever. Okay. And so we could basically say that after this period of time, that's how a conditional order works. We could say the exact time we wanted to sell. So if instead of worrying about the price, it was more like, hey, after this amount of time, I want to go ahead and sell my 100 shares. Now, here we peg to the midpoint, but you could also put in a limit price. You could say, not only do I want the midpoint, but I want to make sure that I get at least this price. You could put in your minimum. You could say, I don't want this whole thing to go through if it's any lower than this, because we're selling. If it's below 176.66, I don't want to sell. But assuming it's above that price, that's my absolute limit, and we're after this period of time, then go ahead, get me out at the midpoint of that order. And if we could preview, we could transmit that order. We don't own the 100 shares, but I just wanted to give you, again, a few different examples of how you could create conditions based on price, based on time, based on other assets, not even the stock that you're trading. You can add snap or peg to midpoints. You can put some offsets on those to buy lower or to sell higher. And you can even put a limit, an absolute low that you're willing to trade at for selling, or a limit price for buying along with your peg. So not only am I trying to get the midpoint, but I want to make sure I don't get anything worse than this price. So fun stuff. Play around with that technology. We've got more videos like this one that will take you through using the Interactive Brokers Trader Workstation software. Have fun with it. Embrace the learning. If you want more videos like this one, Visit us at maverickTrading.com, click on the subscribe button, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.